And a good morning or good afternoon or whatever it might be to you all. Welcome to the Dice Tower Q&A on May 1st, 2023. This is where you guys ask questions and I answer them occasionally. We're glad to have you here. I'm glad to have a week of normalcy after traveling and doing things. There's always things to get ready for. I'm working on our 36-hour marathon. I'm working on the Dice Tower East Gen Con, and there's something else, Summer Spectacular. And I have a trip to Brazil coming up in June. There's many things coming, but this week, normal, sort of. I got a lot of things to do. One of those things is I have to go and argue with the U.S. government to give me my passport. They've had it since early February, and I need it. February, March, April. Okay, I don't want to get into a rant about that. Okay, so anyway, if you have any questions, just ask them in the chat. I will answer some of the questions. I don't promise to answer all of them. In fact, I promise I won't answer all of them, but I'll answer some of them and we'll jump right into it. Let's see, how was Gamma? Gamma was fine. It was mostly meetings, so realize that I'm not a big fan of meetings. In fact, you might find me one of the top 10 people on earth who hates meetings. But you got to have them, so I went and met with a lot of people and saw some new stuff. What is that on my tie? That is Monopoly money. Why not? Brazil, that's a question. It's a country in South America. It's actually the largest country in South America and is one of the few countries in South America that does not speak Spanish as its main language, but Portuguese instead. Let's see here. What happened to the front of the hat? Looks like I got paint on it. That's actually the whole hat. The style of this hat is like that. See it? I really like it. And I get it. When I got it, Z was like, oh, so a car ran over your hat. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. There was something about this hat that I really enjoyed. When did every board game start using lightning bolts to represent instant or one-time effects? Who did this first? That's a good question. I wonder who did it first. Was it Magic? Someone's going to have to do research into that because I don't know. Joey introduced everyone to green olive tacos or nachos. Who was it? What's the verdict? It was green olives on nachos. I like green olives fine. I love nachos. It was actually taco salad, not nachos. But I like taco salad. I don't know that green olives added anything to it. It tasted like green olives. I didn't think it blended well. It was fine at best. I'm not doing it again. Let's see here. Considering your general feelings of Monopoly, I love the tie. Well, I also wore a cat tie the other day. If a good tie is a good tie. What's the best game you've played this year? Well, my favorite game, if I said, was Ark Nova. So I'm going to go with Ark Nova was the best game I played this year. I enjoyed the 10,000 and Below series that you did. Are there any plans to do a similar series? Maybe. We'll see. I always have ideas for different series. I just did a series of 5 great games from different years in the 90s. What's the best thing I ate this weekend? I'm going to cheat here and go back over the last week, but in Gamma we went to an Irish restaurant, which was unbelievable. They had these chips with, they called it like nachos with pork belly, but they weren't nachos. They were waffle fries with pork belly on, which were great. A charcuterie board, which was amazing. And then I got some roast duck. And duck, to me, is always an iffy thing, because bad duck is not good at all, or okay duck's not even good, but good duck is excellent, and it was an excellent meal. That was in Reno. I don't remember the name of the restaurant. Do I think Marvel United will ever become an app? I do not know. How can I find Gamora? I don't know. Watch the new movie. Didn't they find her? She showed up in Endgame. Our family is planning a cruise. What are your favorite activities to do off of the ship? See new sights. I just get off and walk around. Usually look for a guide who will say, hey, give me $20, I'll show you around. I'm like, sure, why not? Hi, Tom. What tends to drop a game to low score like 1-3? Like it's terrible and full of snot? Feels like some reviews are quite negative, but still get a middle score. Well, I always find it weird that people think reviews in 4 or 5, they're like, no, that seems okay to me. Again, just kind of give the analogy of, if I said, hey, Mom, I got a quiz, I got 4 out of 10 right. I doubt she would say, well, that's fine. It's not bad, but it's fine. It is not. Excited to see the van. I am also, every time I drive home, I'm like, that's my van. Very excited about it. You'll see. It looks cool. Can't wait to, well, I did drive it, but can't wait to drive it up to Indiana. Mike says, is there a contest? Unfortunately, our Q&A contests have ceased. So there is no more Q&A contest. On that note, if you're watching and you want to sponsor a contest on Q&A, just let me know. I am not taking a look at the new Minecraft games, but I do know that Camilla is because I saw all 3 of them sitting on her desk. For the marathon, is it possible to email you requests? You can always email a request to me about the Dice Tower Marathon, but I can tell you at 99.99999% I will ignore it. I don't mean to be mean, but the marathon is where I'm picking games that are fun for me. So you can request all you want, but I really think carefully about the games we play. There's no sponsorship involved in these games. We're just playing games. So, yeah, you can email me, but you're basically wasting your time if you do so. And I don't mean to be mean by saying that. I'm just trying to be straightforward here. Because people will be like, well, do this, do this. Nah, I'm going to do what I want during the marathon. It's 36 hours. We're going to play games that we want to play. Any chance Dice Tower members, says Alex Whitman, hang out in the Tampa area? Just moved here with a massive collection. Well, first of all, Alex, come visit us over in Miami sometime. Secondly, sign up for Dice Tower East. It's not very far from you. And thirdly, go on our Facebook group. If you have questions looking for people, the Dice Tower Facebook group is a great place to find people like that. There's definitely people in Tampa who play board games. Was it Mike's idea to do the greatest games in 19XX series? No, that was mine. But Mike is the one editing them. Just played a game of Tokyo Tsukiji Market last night with my group. A bit of a niche unknown title. Do you think people should try more niche titles over what's hot? No, play what you want. There really seems to be this anti-hot thing, which I don't understand in board game. People are like, hey, small publishers should get more love. Then small publishers need to make great games. For example, Distilled just came out. First-time publisher. It's an amazing game. It's an amazing production. They put their heart, they put their soul, they put oomph. It's great design. And we're going to call it great design. And it's getting buzz because it's a great design. They're a new publisher. But some publisher who does some half meh kind of production, am I supposed to sit there and go, yay, you're small, you're marvelous? No, do a good job. But also, if Simon comes out with a new game, or Asmodee or whoever it might be, and it's an amazing game, I'm going to talk about it. It's weird. People are like, oh, enough people are talking about that. Okay, but I still like talking about it. I don't watch a lot of small niche movies either. I like watching the blockbusters. I think people should play whatever interests them. Small niche games, if they're good, we'll shout them out. But there's always this kind of like, these games just never had a chance. I guess that's kind of life, though, but I don't know. Did you do anything outside of Gamma last week that was amazing? No. Other than quitting your job, what do you think was the biggest risk you took in terms of developing the Dice Tower? Hiring employees, buying property for studios, starting your own cons cruise. Starting the cons is not as big of a risk. I protected myself with that. Each con is its own entity, so if something went completely kaput with the con, I wouldn't lose the dice tower. Probably buying the property. I mean, that's a big risk, right? The property here in Homestead has gone up consistently. The studio is up 33%. It might be 40%. It's pretty high from when I bought it. That does not mean I'm going to turn it and make a profit off of it. Not at all. That's not my goal. I didn't buy this to make money. So to me, technically, it's worth the same amount when I bought it. But it's nice to know that it's going up in value. But that could change. What upcoming Kickstarter fulfillment are you most looking forward to? Well, I don't really look forward to Kickstarter fulfillments. I fire and forget. Last night I was going through my Kickstarter projects that I backed, and I was like, oh yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I look at these. But for the most part, I don't do that. Updates come. I don't read them. I just wait till the game shows up, and I'm like, oh yeah. Is Dice Tower still working on updating their website? The answer to that is yes, they are. Oh yeah, talking about Dice Tower people in the area. Alex, my daughter lives there, as she just pointed out. You think I would remember that? My pick to win the Spiel des Jahres. I don't know of any of the possibilities right now, so I'll say Dorf Romantic. Even though my view of it was not that positive. I think it might have a chance to win. Just watched every Board Gamer YouTuber's #1 ranked game. And John Goodwin says, thanks. I just did a very small part of that. The Dragon's Tomb did most of that there. Hello, Tom. Have you ever felt extremely burned out on board games to the point of wanting to step out from the hobby? Not once. What keeps you so intrigued in board games? I like them. If I ever was going to be stepping out from the board game hobby, I think it would be people, not board games. I really like board games. I can see people fading out from board games like you fade out from anything. I'm like, I've done that in ages. It happens all the time. The people, oh yeah, I love board games. I haven't played them for a year. There's a lot of people like that. But I like them. I have not felt burned out at all. Fishy for More says, I meant, how could I find Gamora's Marvel United Mini and cards? Well, I don't know, eBay, maybe? Have you considered monthly roundups, ranked tournament style, to easily summarize what games the crew has played and how they fare? No. Oh, I just got a thumbs down. Oh, what did I say? I always wonder when I see a thumbs down show up what I've done. I'm going back in my head. It must have been when I said I didn't like cats by accident. No, that just doesn't really interest me. We're already doing a lot of summaries of stuff that we're doing. We do a weekly review. Are those silica packs that come in board games necessary to keep in the box after opening? I don't. I don't know. Does anyone? Maybe some people do. Who would win in a fight between you and Big Bird? Big Bird is 8'2", 300 pounds. I would, but that's because I'm meaner than Big Bird. Big Bird's so friendly. Big Bird wouldn't fight. In Masters of the Universe, Clash Fraternia, who was your favorite character to play? Snout Spout. And that's got another thumbs down. That's because I talked about the first thumbs down. All right, let's go for 3. Is there a date for the marathon? There is a date for the marathon. The marathon is going to be... Now I'm quickly pulling up my my calendar here. It's in May. That's this year. It's May 18th and 19th. It's on a Thursday and Friday. It will start at 9 a.m. Thursday morning and go to 9 p.m. Friday. And I know that we originally said it was going to be a 30-hour marathon, but it's going to be a 36-hour marathon. That's because we normally take 6 hours off, and we're still going to take those 6 hours off. But while we take those 6 hours off, we're going to switch to our remote studio in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Mike DeLisio will be covering for us then. How do we decide which game gets a review? The games we play get reviews. So it's more the question is, how do you decide which games to play? Ones that look interesting. Any updates on when you'll be reviewing Saria? No. Because and just a heads up on a side note, I don't know, I haven't got to Saria yet. But I don't do updates on when I'm reviewing stuff because people hold you to those updates and stuff. We just review stuff when we get to it. It is funny because there's a lot of people who say, reviewers need to stop rushing to review stuff as fast as they can. Okay, I agree. But then if the reviewers wait, people are like, where's the review? Yeah. So, have you heard from Rob Oren recently? We emailed back and forth like a month ago. He had said something nice about me on my channel. I said thank you, and he said thank you back, and something like that. It was pretty short. What do the perfect nachos consist of for you? I'm glad you asked. So first of all, you want to find the right chips, and for me, the best chips are the black bean or blue, whatever, black or blue tortilla chips. So we start with those. Then what you do is you have to build the plate carefully. Put a few chips in the plate, and then you cover it with cheese. And so for me, again, this is the perfect one. My first layer will be that 3 cheese, Mexican cheese, real thinly shredded all over it. And then I put another layer of chips on top of that because you want the cheese in between them. You don't want it just on the top nachos. Then you put the top layer of nachos on, and then I shred Swiss cheese. And I know it might be anathema to some people, but I then put it in the microwave and melt that cheese on there. So the cheese is melted on. Now, we're going to add onions, which sometimes I put the onions in before I nuke it because I want the onions not to be too raw. It depends. But I put some onions on top of that. Some tomatoes. Some green onions, if I have them. We're talking nachos. And then some sort of meat. Actually, I put the meat on before I melt the cheese on. Forgot. Perfect nachos. So some chopped chicken breast, probably. Not spiced at all. Because I don't want any spice coming from that. I want the spice coming from the sauces that I add to it. So I put that in between the layers of chips with the cheese and have the cheese melt around the chicken. So then that's pretty much it for me. Then we had some hot sauces. So right now I put some salsa on it. Right now my jam is we have a store here called Robert Is Here who makes the best fruit in the world. Robert Here is an amazing place. It's around the corner from the Dice Tower. Robert Is Here, sells exotic fruits from all over the world. They sell the best milkshakes you will ever have. I'm not exaggerating. They are amazing. They have a petting zoo. It's like a destination little place. And we go there often. It's around the corner. Me and my son went there Saturday. And we split a cherry dragon fruit shake. That was a good shake. But anyway, they sell sauces and things. So they have a cranberry salsa, which is good. So I put that on, and then I put a hot sauce, because the sauce is usually not hot enough. So I want to bring up the heat just a bit. I don't want to kill myself. So I just was using, recently, I'm really happy with this, a mango hot sauce from Jamaica. When we were in Jamaica, I picked up a hot sauce. And, So that was tremendous. So that's what I would put on my perfect nachos. There's all kinds of things I could, in and out corn, in and out a little bit of brown rice. Put a little lettuce on top. Once you add lettuce, it becomes a taco salad, so it's kind of iffy with the lettuce. But that. Now, this is completely different, of course, than nachos with queso, because queso is amazing. But I think that's a different thing. I think we're talking about. Does it look like Lorcana will not get stuck with collectors and heavy hobbyists and actually find its way to kids and families? Eventually. I mean, hobbyists and collectors will probably buy up a lot of it and be jerks. What can you do? Eventually it will find its way out there and people will play it. What can you do? People yell about the hobbyists and collectors buying stuff up, and I don't like it either. I'm very opposed to it. But money will find a way. They'll get it to the audience it's intended to eventually. Who brings the best snacks to the office? Well, I'm going to say me. Whose idea was the intro song for the 1990X game series? Well, our David Killing, who does our theme song revamps, he put that together. I gave him some ideas for it. I did not say Nirvana. He's the one who ran with that. But yeah, you're right. I really like that one. Did I do a top 10 Dominion expansions? Well, no, because there only is like 15. That would be weird. But I might do it at some point. That might be something I do in the future. What's your favorite kind of popcorn? I'm eating some chocolate caramel popcorn right now. That's fine. I didn't think I would like the mix of sweet and salty, but it does work. I guess that's why Britain puts sugar and salt on popcorn. It's still weird. My favorite kind of popcorn is probably like a jalapeno cheese type popcorn. I like those a lot. Out of everyone in the Dice Tower, who, if any, have the most similar taste in games as you, including your kids from previous videos? Melody and I have pretty similar tastes. That's it, though. Like, exact taste, like Rod, who's coming down for the marathon. He and I have very similar tastes in many, like in the Ameritrash style games, but he doesn't like the heavier Euro games, which I like some of them too. Maybe Chris is the closest to me. Earlier today, you said you're surprised Santorini, New York wasn't more popular. Aside from the mechanical issue I have with the game. The name isn't great. How would you rename Santorini, New York? I would just call it a completely different game. Something about New York, blah, 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 New York, and then a corner say a Santorini game. That's what I would call it. Do you have a hat that you would never wear again? No, because if I never wear a hat again, I get rid of the hat. How much of the Dice Tower library is painted up so far? I don't know. It's a good question because there's a lot of games that there's too many miniatures to paint, and there's some games that are just not worth painting. Any recommendations for good word games, particular for 2 players? Well, the new Fiction works with 2 players. Try Fiction. If Hollywood were to make a movie about the Dice Tower, they would not. Any words of advice for a budding hat collection enthusiast? Well, I would wear the hats. I don't buy them just to have them. But get good ones. And these, it depends. If you travel like me, these crushable hats are a godsend because, you can open them back up. They're easier to travel with. Don't get a dog. Will the Dice Tower be at Origins this year? We will not. What news do you have on Steeped Games? Well, I don't actually run Steeped Games, so I have no news on them. Let's see here. What aspects of games do you think have improved the most over the years? Oh, definitely production values have gone through the roof. Do you feel the need to own all parts of a collection, even if the gameplay is similar, because you are vested? For example, the Great Western Trail trilogy. No, I don't think that at all. Is there a stretch goal video from the 2023 Kickstarter you're really looking forward to? No, but I'm working on a couple of them right now, actually. How much does FOMO affect you? I mean, if FOMO affects you as much as the next person, I think FOMO, I don't know. If we're talking about board games, I don't know because I see a lot of games. So if a game passed me by, I might be like, oh man, but I see so many games that it would be hard. For movies, if there's a movie I'm excited about, I'll go see it. And if I miss it for whatever reason, like I still haven't seen the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I just never got around to it. I was busy, didn't have the time, blah, blah, blah. I'm okay with that. I'll eventually see it. With other stuff, I don't know. I don't know if it affects me that much, but I would be a fool to say it doesn't affect me at all. A while back, you mentioned growing the Dice Tower. Have you considered adding an RPG channel? No, I'm not going to add an RPG channel for a myriad of reasons, but it's just not going to happen. Would you want to open up a local game store? I would not. What do you play with your kids the most? Well, I play mostly new games with them. Played some very terrible games with my children yesterday. They're like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, sorry. Except my son. He and I are playing through like a little legacy game. It's called Miller's Zoo. So we're playing through that together. And when we're done, I'm like, hey, ready to see the next game? And he says, tomorrow. So then we play it tomorrow. That's how that works. Let's see here. How do you handle stress? Well, it depends what it is, right? Prayer handles a good chunk of my stress. Downtime, doing something else. Spending time with my wife. My wife's really good about that sort of thing. I have a great wife. I don't know if I've ever said that. She's fantastic. Let's see here. Why do teachers love board games? I don't think it's all teachers, because when I worked in a school, I couldn't get all the teachers to play board games. But I think there's a correlation there about the love of learning and the love of new board games. Let's see here. Any upcoming deck building games? No, I'm not designing any games at all currently. Shem Phillips announced Ezra Nehemiah. Sure, I'm interested to see these games. I still haven't played Jerusalem yet, but I would like to. How many times do you play a game before you do your final review? Enough. If your trip to Brazil has something to do with the U.S. release of Comic Hunters, adjust the knot in your tie. No, I was invited down for a convention. That is why I'm going down there. How do you separate playing like a reviewer and playing like a gamer, if at all? Do you try to take different choices and different play styles, or do you just play and write a review totally after? I don't know. I might do weird things when I'm playing to see how something works, but I would do that if I wasn't a reviewer. You know what? I don't know that I can separate being a reviewer out. I try. And I'm talking about my whole life. You know, whether I'm eating food, watching a movie, reading a book, I'm always thinking about what I'm doing. I'm ranking it in my head. I read a book, I rank that book in my head. And as time goes by, things can change and stuff. So I just read the Thrawn Heir to the Empire series. The original ones, which no longer exists, apparently, because of Disney. Canceling now they're calling it the Legacy Universe, but whatever. And those are some of my favorite books I've ever read. But they've dropped a little bit, and I was reading them, thinking about why some of the things in those books don't work for me as much anymore. But they're still really, really good. I don't know what it has to do with what you were asking, but okay. What advice would I give to newlyweds? Your whole life is about making your partner's life better. Straight up. That was advice given to me, and it's true. It's not always going to happen. You're going to be selfish. And I highly disagree with Hollywood's, the messaging that Hollywood gives, which is take care of yourself first and other people. I'm not on an airplane. I don't need to give you an oxygen mask. I put my wife before myself, or I should. I don't always, for sure. But I should put her first. All right. If the internet is a mean place, did you have to... Oh, the internet is a mean place. I thought you said if. I'm like, if there's no if. You have to develop a thick skin when people knock your opinions, content, production that you've worked to create and share. Love your channel. Thank you. Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things that always makes me think twice is, you know, people say pretty rude and mean things. Like, really rude and mean things. I just read several comments on our channel. We monitor our channel pretty carefully, and I try to delete comments sometimes before the other staff can see them and stuff, because there's just really mean stuff said out there. But, you know, when people are upset, I'm also just gave a very strong opinion on a game. So that's why people are upset. Because I said something mean about a game that they may have designed and or published and or illustrated and or just love and play. So if I'm going to give that opinion, I don't think that I should get too upset about other people's opinions. I mean, I didn't call them fat or wear stupid hats. It's always stupid hats. I'm like, oh, think these hats are pretty cool, actually, but I get it. Or neck beard, which I don't understand, as if having a beard on your neck is somehow weird. Like if you made comments about people's appearance in other ways, like if you made fun of someone for having a unibrow or for having a comb over or for being bald or whatever, I guess. I mean, you're not really proving a point there. Oh, well, you're proving a point, but maybe not the one you want. Yeah, sometimes it gets you down, but you know what? It's one of the reasons we work together here in a group at the Dice Tower, because we get along really well with each other and we can support each other through these times. You can put barbecue pork on nachos. You can, and it's fine, but I feel like it takes away from the whole nachos as a whole. It's a nice diversion, but straight nachos, I try not to season the meat at all and let the season come from everything else in there. What would you say was the best decade for board games? Well, up to this moment, it's probably the 2010s, but I'm sure the 2020s will surpass it. I don't think people realize how good gaming gets. Not influential, but the best. More good games seem to come out every year. That's true. Robert says whatever the last 10 years are. There you go. What continent do you want to see in the next Wingspan expansion? I always have the answer ready for that one. Is Australia, 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 Australia. There's so many cool birds in there. Or South America probably. They both have cool birds. Probably South America, actually. With all due deference to Asia and Europe, I was a little disappointed when they announced this. I'm like, oh, cool. There's cool birds in Europe and there's cool birds in Asia. But Africa and South America and Australia, it's like they're saving the best birds for last. I love tropical birds. Have you played any Dice Masters? There's a new set out. Huh. There's a new set of Dice Masters out? I have not heard of this. I watched your top 10 video games, saw Final Fantasy. Have you tried Final Fantasy TCG? I have not. If not, would you ever try it? Probably not, because the company that made it has made, I think Square made it. Are they a TCG person? Probably not. Do you think you ever do a Dice Tower Midwest convention? No, probably not. Oh, if I can add Pittsburgh to the delivery rotation, tell Tom I'll add some PA potato chips. I was just talking to some people from Pennsylvania. You non-Pennsylvanians in the world, and I include, when I say Pennsylvania, I'm going to include Jersey, maybe parts of New York, maybe Delaware. You do not understand how good Pennsylvania, it's not even a question. Pennsylvania is the best potato chips in the world. And I'll tell you how you know this, because when you go to a store anywhere else in America, and you look for potato chips, you see Lay's. And then you see the store brand. And then maybe you'll see Hers or Utz. Maybe. And maybe one other company. Pennsylvania, there's like 10. They're all local companies, and they're all amazing. If you buy Lay's potato chips in Pennsylvania, people look at you like, what is wrong? I mean, people do it because people do that sort of thing, right? But it's like, why? Why would you ever buy Lay's? Maybe because they're on sale. But a Lay's potato chip compared to any local potato chip place, it's garbage. Garbage. It really is. I apologize to all you Lay's employees out there maybe watching this, but oh man, they're just not as good. The local ones from, we got Goods and Kings and Charles, and there's so many companies. I've forgotten half of them because it's been 20 years since I lived in Pennsylvania, but it's the truth. Pennsylvania local snacks are the best. What do you believe is the most important aspect of board gaming that keeps people coming back to the hobby? Other people, straight up. What do you think is the next evolution for deck building games? I don't think Evolution is a deck building game at all. It's more of a deck. You have a deck of cards that you're building creatures from, but you don't actually do deck building in Evolution. Let's see here. A lot of people are mentioning a little wordy for a good two-player word game. That is correct. Any chance you'll make it to Geekway of the West this month? There's very small chance. I would like to go. I'm sure it's fantastic, but I'm not going. Do you have a good method you recommend for painting minis for absolute beginners? You should talk to anyone in the world whose name is not Tom Vasel. I am not a painter. Hey, Tom, how would you feel if Asmodee went after the companies making upgrades for their games? Well, that'd be cool. If Asmodee bought these companies that were making upgrades, we'd see more of the upgrades. That'd be pretty neat. I would like that. That'd be neat. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to... Have I had FOMO for a hat? A little. There was some hats. There was a hat store in Vegas at Caesar's Palace. Let me see if I can find the name of the store. What was it called? It's probably gone by now because I went there in September. Let me see here. There's a map. I know exactly where the store is, so I will. And I can't afford to go to any of these stores. All right. That's 4-1. How do I get up to 4-2? Am I looking at the right mall? Anyway, they had these very colorful, really nice hats that were named after some celebrity, and I don't remember who the celebrity was. There it is. How do I get to the second floor? Terrace level. Maybe it's not terrace level. Street level. No, it's not street level. Casino level. Let's zoom in. There's lids, not lids. There's Lush. It's not Lush. Oh, here it is. Keith and James. Keith and James was the name of this store. Found it. And they make these brands. They were named after a person. And but they were like $300 a hat. I'm not paying $300 a hat. Ooh, I'm looking them up here online. They're like $500 a hat. Fedora hat by Keith and James. So I went in there and looked at their hat. They had king hats, queen hats, prince hats. I'd wear any of those hats. They're $550. I don't know why I was saying $300. But I definitely was like, oh. But I mean, I couldn't even like, I'd like to say, and they even have them my size too, the double XLs. Like they have this light blue one. I mean, look at this hat here. I'm going to drag it on this screen because it's cool. Oh, I think I can drag it on the screen. Okay, maybe not. I don't know why I'm talking about hats so much, but y'all asked for it. Where did I just save that picture to? Wait, save it as an HTML? Okay, that did not work well. It's not letting me save the picture. Well, I can show it to you like this, right? There it is. What a cool hat, right? Neat. Anyway, that was a really long roundabout way. So yes, a little bit of FOMO, but I didn't even seriously consider the hat. Like I didn't even sit there and go, I don't know. No, I looked at them And then I kept waiting for him to go, but today is buy one, get two free. And even then I would have paused for a really long time and probably still wouldn't have bought one. But there you go. I remember that place. They were neat hats. But that's a lot of money for a hat. If you're going to spend that much money, I don't know, there's many other things you should buy other than a hat. Has anyone ever slept overnight at the Dice Tower Studios? Yes. What was the overall feeling at Gamut? Do industry professionals like optimistic about the future? Yeah, I think so. I think everyone there was pretty optimistic about the future. Honestly, I don't think you would go to Gamma if you weren't optimistic about the future. People who aren't optimistic are like, why would I waste my time going there? People who are like, I want to be better and do well and great are going there. Does Chief Sokoto have a set of chores he does regularly? Mowing grass, taking out garbage, cleaning up corrupt rebellions. Well, cleaning up corrupt rebellions is not a chore, sir. It is a duty. It is a duty that Chief Sokoto does. Chores, I don't know. I mean, I don't know a lot about Chief Sokoto's very private life because, well, that's his private life. It's none of my business. And I mean, I know he was married, and twice. They were both very tragic ends to the marriage. The one was she died, and the other one was a disillusion because she's in a dimension that Chief Sokoto can't get to. But he still takes care of his kids, as far as I know. And I don't know a whole lot more about that. But yeah, there's like not any chores, I suppose. Working for the agency, you had things like, you have to check the temp FR2 consistently, because if that's off, that's like a daily thing. Always be ready for that, because any fluctuation, when you do the jumps, if that's not clean, if that's not viable, they show you enough pictures of that to show you don't ever not clean it, so you clean it. So I guess that would be the chore that you do. FOMO affects me a lot with one-on-one versus skirmish games like Summoner Wars on Match. I want it all. That's not FOMO. FOMO's fear of missing out on something. You're like, that's more collection. You need to have everything. I think people just need to get over that. You don't need everything. What characters would you want to play if there's a Marvel Gloomhaven? I don't know that I would like a Marvel Gloomhaven. I don't think it would feel very Marvel-y. Does nobody here buy more games to handle stress? That's a bad way to handle stress, by buying things. Why wouldn't you want to own a game store? Because that's not what I want to do. See, you don't realize owning a game store, so there's some cool things about owning a game store, which is you're selling something you love, hopefully. You're running a game store. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a point in my life where I wanted to run a store. I wasn't going to open a grocery store. I was going to open the biggest grocery store in the world. But a game store would have been fine too, but you need to want to run a store. You have to deal with employees and setting up schedules for those employees and figuring out when they're going to play and deal with wages, and you need to buy, you need to sell. It is not about playing games. It's not even about games. It could be anything. You could be selling records. You could sell anything. TVs. You are a store owner, and you talk to any store owner in existence, and they'll tell you that. If you're going into it with the idea of, woohoo, it's going to be fun, it's not a good reason to open a game store. Now, I'm not saying it can't be fulfilling. And forming a community and all that stuff is great. But I don't want to do that, at least not now. It's not my goal. My goal now is to be a board game reviewer. A game store would be a lateral move. I have high respect for good game store owners, but it's not something that I want to do. Do you need to get a flea market? This is for Dice Tower East, and I always answer questions about Dice Tower East. Remember, folks, tickets are selling out. We're down to about 100 of them. But do you need a flea market table to participate in the virtual flea market? And the answer to that is no. The virtual flea market is just, you're just buying and selling online. I had a dream last night that Tom didn't realize the live video was going and said a really bad word. I had to rewind it. I was so shocked. You wouldn't, would not happen, because I don't talk like that off air either. I'm not saying everyone at the Dice Tower is like that. My son ranks every activity he does and food he eats. I wonder if he'll be some type of reviewer in the future. Possibly. I also do the same. How do you feel about the announcement of the new HBO Harry Potter series? I guess it's still weird to me when they remake something that I've seen happen live. Like if you're like, hey, we're going to remake something from the 80s. I mean, I was alive then too. But if it's something before I was born, I'm like, okay, remake it. But to remake it, when I first heard they were remaking Lord of the Rings, I thought, but the movies are so good. Speaking of that, I am currently in the middle of showing my kids, my younger generation of kids, The Hobbit. We're going to watch The Hobbit, 3 movies first, then watch Lord of the Rings. And I got to say, the Hobbit movies have aged fairly well for me. I know a lot of people really hate on the Hobbit movies, but I enjoy them a lot. Yes, they don't follow the Hobbit book faithfully. Yes, there could be more Bjorn and whatever. And the last movie is tricky, but my kids have really been enjoying it. They've really been got into it. And as soon as we're done with the third one, we're going to go right into Lord of the Rings and see how they like that. I don't know if that's the right order to show them in, but I'm testing it out to see how it feels with that. So they'll be like, hey, it's Legolas again, because they have no concept of that. They probably will wonder where the other, the elf is. I'll be like, I don't know, she just didn't show up in the second set of movies. Yeah, I'm interested in trying that out. But anyway, the new HBO Harry Potter series, same thing. I had that same feeling about it. Like, I don't know. Harry Potter movies feel really iconic. I don't know why I would mess with them. What is your favorite Final Fantasy Tactics class for your main character? So Ramza, my favorite class for I don't have my iPad here. I would pull it up and look through them. For my main character, Squire is his secondary skill because he has some pretty cool abilities there. And I think I like having him as a ninja as his main class, Squire as a secondary class. I think that's what I do for the main character because I like that speed. My favorite characters in Tactics are the Lancers, the Dragoneers. The jumping ability is so cool to me. Yes, the monsters move before you can jump on them or what have you, but I've always still liked that. It's just been a fun class for me. Every once in a while, you'll mess with professional wrestling, so I wondered who would make my top 3 wrestlers. Well, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'll just say some wrestlers I like. Big Boss Man. Heartbreaker. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels and I don't know. Nobody current. I did like Ric Flair. Maybe Ric Flair would be the third. Woo! The Mandalorian's done. I know any other good Star Wars. I'm sure there's plenty of other good ones. I don't know. Let's see here. How many people could attend Dice Tower West before it would be sold out? I do not know the numbers on that. I apologize. One side of my suspenders is longer than the other. It's almost. I intend to win my games, but don't play optimally. I do what I enjoy and think will be a lot of fun, but when I get this, I get faces like you here for fun, ruining the game. Who is doing this to you? I mean, if you're doing really, really weird stuff that ruins other people's game, and you're like, it's for fun, that's not good. But if you're doing an odd strategy for fun and it works, I would rather try that to see if it works. I've never read Tim Dorsey books, I don't think. Let's see who Tim Dorsey is. Tim Dorsey has written books called The Stingray Shuffle, Triggerfish Twist. What kind of books are these? Florida Roadkill. They look like murder mysteries or something like that. I don't know anything about them. Let's see here. What's my favorite location in Breath of the Wild? A game I will never talk about again in 10 days. I'm kidding. My favorite location? I think the main Central Plains. I like, my favorite place to go there is around the castle. I like that area around the castle because there's, those creatures are running around. They're so dangerous. I don't know. It gives me such a rush of breath. Although there's some places in the canyons that I think are just really awesome too. Let's see here. I'm going to run and look here. Going through. Yes, someone says they're going to check out the chip scene in Pennsylvania. That's correct. Mike says, I miss the old Charles chips that used to get delivered to your door. They were fantastic. In the tin. It's the first time I ever had ketchup chicks. Yeah, there's so many. Correction, any local snack local to your area are the best? No, I live in Florida now. It's my local area. Pennsylvania has the best snacks. Straight up. Let's see here. If I may ask, how do you handle a disagreement fight with your lovely wife? Not as good as I should, probably. Let me go through here. Let's see. People always ask me this. How do I often play games just for fun as opposed to value for reviews? All gaming to me is fun. It does not matter to me. I love playing new games. I thought the same thing in Caesars, says Josh. Yeah, all the places in Caesars are very, very expensive. But it was just a neat hat store. I almost walked out. What does XXL translate into hat number size? I don't remember. So this is an XL. It's always iffy if I can wear an XL or an XXL. I usually say XXL because then you can always put like a little hat ribbon here to wear. But a smaller hat you cannot fit on your head. I want to say it's 17 3/4 is XL and 18 is double XL, something like that. Are you more likely to spend the most money you've ever spent on a hat or a board game? Neither. I've bought a house. That wins. Oh, man. Do you have or want a Steam Deck? I have a Steam Deck now. I just traveled with it. Why do sports have such a hard time being translated to good board games? Mostly because sports are quick and snappy and fast, and board games are thoughtful and slower paced. That's why. Easy enough. Mason said, I thought Chief Soko was a real person, so he said the wife was in a different dimension. Why would having your wife in a different dimension not make you a real person? Chief Sokoto would be very disappointed. He would actually come after you. Well, I don't think he got after you. He's actually he's a little grumpy at times, but he's kind of a kind-hearted soul. So he would probably not. Besides, he's not around right now. He's in the dimension 64, I think. 64B 6.3. Let's see here. I'm going to Dice Tower East for the first time and by myself. What should be my plan? Alrighty, we'll show up for registration, get your ticket, have a great time, and then So on day one in the morning, I would go look at the library, look at those games. The hot games tables will be open. Sit down. Other people, by very nature, are going to sit down and go to those hot games tables. It's a captive audience. You have to play games with them, or they have to play games with you and play games. And then when you're done with that, you have some friends. But let's say you don't want to play games anymore, games with them, then we'll walk around, look for players wanted or teacher wanted. Only if you know how to teach the game, of course. But if a player wanted, say, hey, can I play in the game? If they say we're full, say, hey, you're supposed to put the players wanted. No, don't do that. That's my job. But, or get a game yourself and put up players wanted. Here's a hint. Find a hot game. Put up players wanted. People will just waltz in. Also, come to the newcomers meetup. Well, a newcomers meetup, and we'll introduce you to everyone else who's new. And we might have candy, so I'd come. How can you tell the difference between a good and poor quality hat? I don't know, the feeling of it. This is a Bailey hat. Bailey's makes quality hats. If the word felt is used, it's not a good quality hat. Like you can go to Party City and buy a fedora, but that hat's going to get destroyed so easily. These hats are nice. They can be dry cleaned. There's a lot of good stuff. In Dominion, the cards you can buy are always available. Most other deck builders, I have a card row from a deck you can buy. Other games where our cards are always available to buy. There's not many, actually. Thunderstone is the first one that comes to mind. But, yeah, most of them card games have a few cards you can always buy and then a river row. The river row is more interesting for people, I think. So, what an interesting idea for a stretch goal on next year's Kickstarter to add a studio solely for marbles. Why? That would be a lot of money for one video. I don't think so. Tom should go to Jungle Gyms near Cincinnati. I don't know what that is, but it sounds fun. How much do the other Orlando attractions impact daytime gaming at Dice Tower East? It seems lots of folks go to theme parks and game in the evenings. That definitely happens, but there's also a lot of people who game during the day and then go out to eat at night. It does seem to even out. Definitely, it's a little busier in the evenings, but it is not that unbusy in the day. A lot of people come down to Orlando and they go to the parks before or after Dice Tower Con. During Dice Tower Con, most of them play games. Can anyone read what his watch says? My watch says Monday, May 1st, no more events, your day is clear, which is wrong because I still have at the table, which is happening in a couple hours. No, Lord of the Rings not being remade. They remade that Rings of Power series. I thought originally it was going to be a remaking of Lord of the Rings, but it was a prequel of several thousand years. One Hobbit movie was a good decision. 2 was a stretch. 3 movies were too much. Balderdash. I'm fine with the 3 movies Hobbit. It's very, very fun. You know, if they had turned The Hobbit into a miniseries of 9 episodes, nobody would have said anything. But you call it 3 movies, and everyone's like, no, too long. I like the Hobbit movies. Again, there's missteps. There's definitely parts that look like a video game, and there's some weird decisions they made. But overall, they're fun, rollicking. My kids like them, and if my kids like it, I don't care what the rest of the world says. When people say they think the Hobbit movies are too video game feeling, I rationalize that this is Bilbo telling an over-the-top story of what really happened. Again, all these things are video game stories, if you think about it. There's a group of heroes that fight against thousands of enemies. Doesn't happen in real life. Do you ever wake up and just smile because you don't live in an HOA anymore? Oh yeah, Rowdy Piper. That's a good one. I forgot about him. Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love. I did like Cactus Jack. We'll be reviewing Scarface 1920 this week. Did you not mention Final Fantasy Tactics, your 19XX series? 1997 is Final Fantasy VII. 98 was Baldur's Gate. I think. Final Fantasy Tactics came out in 97. Huh. Well, then I must have missed that. Because it's definitely my favorite game. Meh, it's not that big of a deal. Do you feel the creep of pay to win and microtransactions are bad for the gaming industry? I'm assuming you're talking about video gaming. It amazes me when some people pay for packs of mobile games. People pay it. I don't know. What does it smell like in the studio? Fun. What does my family think of the new van? I think it looks cool. Have they had a chance to ride in it yet? They do indeed. Alrighty, well, I know there's still more questions, but I need to, don't think Tom realizes it's all the same person. Yes, it's the same person, but they're different characters. I don't think Han Solo and Indiana Jones are the same. They're the same actor, but they're different characters. So I'm allowed to like one character in WWE different than another character, right? That's why I like Cactus Jack. And Mankind's fine. I don't like the third one. Anyway, so that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back in 1 hour and 59 minutes with At the Table, me, Eric, and John D. Claire. Folks who don't watch At the Table, come watch it. Why aren't you watching it? It's fun. You get a chance to ask some questions to a designer live and learn things about them. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and you have been watching Q&A here on the Dice Tower. We'll see you next time.